Welcome to the Adventurers Club of Los Angeles. My name's Rich Mayfield, member 1211. I'm your program chair and your host for this evening. We are broadcasting programs during this pandemic because we can't meet. We normally have a pretty lively meeting, 40, 50, 60 people here, so that's a no-go. So tonight we're broadcasting. We've got a skeleton crew, and the crew is one person over there, Andy Medina. He's a great tech guy, and we're here tonight with Stu Deats, member 1168. So before we get started, I remind you all to subscribe to our channel and click the little bell so you get notifications when we go live. So like and subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and let's get going. So Stu Deats, member 1168. Welcome.
Thank you, Rich. I'm very happy to be here, and I want to say that I'm here with Rich, Andy Medina, and Alex Shoemate is in the library looking for my missing book. I want to say that I really love what you guys are doing with the club, all the new redecorating, remodeling, and construction. I really very much appreciate what you're doing.
Well, thank you very much. So Stu is here tonight as a diver extraordinaire. He dives weekly, twice weekly, more than that?
This year I've been diving almost every week because whenever conditions are right. Because where I live in Woodland Hills, in Topanga Canyon, I can really be in the water in about an hour. I can get down to the water, get suited up.
That's getting all your gear on and everything? Like
Yeah.
from when you decide to go diving, when you make that call?
No, I usually pack the night before,
Okay.
the day before. So when I just roll out of bed at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I just roll out of bed, jump in the truck, and take off with my hot coffee.
Nice. You said earlier that you're a coffee addict.
I'm afraid right now I'm peaking.
Peaking? Isn't you the peak caffeine level for this program?
Yeah.
So you're going one way, I'm going the other way with the scotch here.
We'll meet in the middle.
So let's start at the beginning. How did you get into diving? Did you get into diving for food to eat, or for the adventure to see stuff underwater? What prompted you to start diving?
When I was 12 years old, my parents were very, let's say, permissive, and I went to Catalina, Avalon, with a few friends from the middle school without any parental supervision whatsoever. And when the steamship pulled up to the big white steamship, also known as the SS Catalina, which many members probably remember very fondly, and had a ballroom on board, and it was wonderful, and it pulled up to the Pleasure Pier in Avalon, and when it did, I saw the tourists throwing coins and sometimes dollar bills down to the kids in the water.
So this is a money. I think we have a picture of that if we can pull that up. This is a money thing, huh?
Well,
so you started as a treasure hunter.
I treasure hunter. I had
Okay.
I was actually a commercial diver at that point.
Do we have that picture? Yeah, there it is. Well, that's the Avalon
Casino
That's
Point.
the Avalon Casino. Let's take a look at that real quick.
That's Casino Point. Should I talk about that?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. That's someplace I go several times a year. And when I first started going there was no concrete stairs that you see going down there. You had to clamber over the slippery rocks to get into the water, but that was no problem. It's what we did. And what is there now, since they made it a park and it's really full of fish and wildlife, the black sea bass, the giant black sea bass, was hunted almost to extinction, and now they have come back, and they're very strong, and they're in that park, and I know that we have a video of it here tonight, and some of those are like 7 feet long, maybe 400 pounds, maybe more than that, and I can take you right to them. I know right where they live. I'm sure a lot of divers do. And very dependable. You can go there and see them.
Now, is Catalina's a protected area now, right?
Parts of it are, yes. Parts of it are. That part is. That's a no-take area. You're not supposed to touch anything there.
So what about coins? Are they still throwing tourists?
No.
Coins?
An hour later, I was in the water with the other kids diving for diving for the coins because I had no money and I had no place to sleep or anything. So for 50 cents, you could buy an order of French fries.
Okay, so you're outside this boat that was moored up against a pier or a
Yeah, you have to
right?
go ashore and swim out to it.
Okay, so you swim up there, and that was like your first experience, I guess, getting in the water and diving, and you were diving for coins at that point.
Right.
And I'm guessing you were a kid, so you didn't have any gear like
I had nothing.
mask or anything like that.
I had nothing, nothing at all.
So okay, so that was your first love of diving as a treasure hunting middle schooler, right?
Right, but I was hooked.
Okay, so where did it go from there? Because there's different types of diving, right? Can you
There's all
explain
kinds of different types.
the different types of diving?
Right, and somebody who becomes a diver, they're going to have to decide on what is it they want to do, because there's photography, there's gaming, there's spearfishing, there's treasure hunting. We have a number of treasure hunters in our club. Roy Roush had one of the very first. He happens to be my neighbor. He had one of the very first underwater metal detectors. He got a military metal detector. Photography, and sometimes just for the beauty, and sometimes just for the poetry of it.
So where'd you go? So after this first experience, what'd you start with? What got you next?
What got me next?
Because I'm sure you only had to, French fries only cost 50 cents, so you're set for the day.
Oh, well,
What'd you do next?
I just slept on somebody's floor. I lived like that for a week, and it was glorious, because in those days, well, there weren't so many rules and regulations, and they had a big bonfire on the beach right there at Avalon, and they passed around a bottle of cheap wine around the fire, and people were playing the guitar, and it was wonderful. It was heaven for a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So did you advance your skills after that? For how long have you been diving for? Because it sounds like that was swimming, and you dove to the bottom to pick up some coins. But when did you really take it to the next level?
Probably in 1975, I went to Puerto Vallarta, and I stayed at their Hotel Marsol, and downstairs there was a dive shop run by Tony El Sec, Tony the Dry. And Tony would take me out in his Ponga. He took me out of the Ponga, and he put the gear on me, and he said, "Breathe normally," and he pushed me off of the boat. And that was the instruction, just breathe normally. And he took me to the arches there and took me underwater, and I was hooked. I was hooked.
So you said breathe normally. Can you? That's a pretty important thing to do when you're diving, right?
But that was all I got.
What happens if you don't breathe normally? Because I think that's like one of the cardinal rules.
Well, I still don't. So I don't.
Never hold your breath, right?
I always hold my breath. I always skip breathe, but that's normal for me. I breathe what's normal for me.
Right.
But then I was absolutely hooked, and I came back.
So that was 45 years ago.
Who counts?
Well, I just did the math in my head a little bit, because 75.
Okay, I was certified in 1977.
Okay.
Because I came back and I took the class on Wilshire Boulevard there, which I think maybe it was like a sports chalet. I forget what it was. But
And what was the certifying organization?
I took NAUI.
NAUI, okay.
I took NAUI, and I'm very glad that I did, because it's very thorough training. They in the NAUI training for open water, they taught you ditch and recovery. Complete ditch and recovery, which means throw everything into the bottom of the pool. Now go get it without coming back up. So you swim down, find the regulator, and you learn to find the regulator because you just grab the top of the tank. You can't see anything, right? Because you're foggy. You grab the regulator, find the hose, and then once you've got your air, you have all the time you need.
Right. Now, I remember, I'm a diver, and when I went through, they really didn't harass you much underwater. Now, back in the day, so to speak, did they do those drills where they turn your tank? Because they told us, turn your tank off, so then you know how to turn it back on. But I heard that back in the day, they just kind of turned your tank off and made you deal with it, or ripped your mask off and made you deal with it. Like I said, we took our masks off. That's the nice way of doing it.
Well, they teach you all of that, but then they kick your mask off, of course. You got to expect that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. All right, so let's see. What's the deepest you've ever been?
The deepest I've ever been. Well, the deepest a sport diver can go, supposedly.
Well, that wasn't the question.
Yeah, okay.
I,
Okay, the deepest I've gotten is 130.
130. So you stayed within the limits.
Stayed within the limits.
That's the limits.
Right, because I don't like too much decompression.
That's right. And have you ever done decompression diving besides just like your normal safety stop?
No.
No.
I don't have a lot of interest in that. I'm out to have a good time. I'm out to have fun. And I'm not really into the tech diving and all of that. I mean, I've done some caves and some wrecks and done some penetration, but not more than maybe a little more than I'm supposed to, but only a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, you're still alive. That's good. No. Have you had any dive accidents? Have you had any? You got the lower level stuff. Have you had any barotraumas or anything?
You mean, have I gotten hurt?
Yes.
No. Have I had incidents? Yes. Have I had accidents? Yes.
So give me an example of an accident.
Pardon?
Give me an example of an accident that you've been through.
Accident. Okay, well, I hope you're ready for this.
I think I am.
Okay.
I mean, this is an adventurers club, right?
Okay, well, this
what was it? When did you bleed? I think that's what we have to ask.
I was at Catalina with my wife, Diane, who was my dive partner for many years, on one of the old dive boats, and this is a long time ago. But Diane and I were on one side of the rock, this big rock, maybe the size of a school bus or so, when I was suddenly seized by a fit of explosive diarrhea.
Oh, God.
And I filled up my wetsuit with brown chum.
Yeah. They teach you to take your wetsuit off, too?
This is where that ditch and recovery class, that ditch and recovery drill came in really cool, right? Came in really well because I am not afraid to die, but I don't want to be embarrassed. So the chances of me of going up on deck and taking that suit off in front of 30 other divers are very, very slim. So she was laughing the whole time, and I did a complete strip ditch and recovery. I took everything off, and I mean everything, so what you're kind of floating off, I'm just holding on to my weights, and I turned my wetsuit completely inside out and waving it in the water, and all the fish are coming around because they love that, right?
Did that chum to the water, I guess?
They loved it, yeah. There's a little feeding frenzy there.
Yeah, so you eat those fish later or no? Are those the ones that you go
I
after?
I didn't spear any fish that time, no, but
What does do we have a picture of a dive boat, a stew on a dive boat, so we can see that? We got some pictures here. We'll show some pictures.
Okay, this
But
one.
I want to show you guys how close it is because we're all concerned these days about coronavirus, and I'll ask you later about how that affects your diving. But these dive boats are fairly crowded places, so I just imagine that
they are.
Yeah.
That's a small. Let's
show them that one. Look at that.
Okay, this dive boat. That's my son Jack, the one with the big guy with the red beard, and in the middle is my dive buddy Bill, and this is on inflatable boat. This boat was just purchased by Aloha Dive in the Valley at Tampa and Satakoy. I want to give a shout out to Aloha. Thanks for all the help I get from them. And I would encourage any diver to support your local dive shop, okay? Support them, because to just go in there and try things on and then buy them off the internet, when something breaks, you want somebody who's gonna fix it for you. And it's just good to have to build a relationship with your support team.
Yeah, so do they know about your history with explosive diarrhea? Would they let you on that boat? Would they let you on that boat if they knew that
I haven't demonstrated it recently.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So, but wait, you said you were going to tell me about, like, I guess you said an accident, and I thought like an injury of some sort.
No, I've managed to escape injury.
So not even a nosebleed or like...
oh, sure, nosebleed, sure.
Yeah, there you go. So you did bleed.
Oh, I would definitely bleed, but but you mean nosebleeds and cuts and bites from animals, things like that.
Whoa! Back it up. Bites for. First of all, tell us what this is here. This isn't yours, but do you know who?
That is not mine. That's a shark jaw, and with a piranha jaw in the middle of it. that I found on the wall to build a little set here for us.
So, did you get bitten by something like this? Tell me about animal
No,
bites.
I got bitten by a moray.
Okay.
A moray eel because when you're looking for lobster, you're going to stick your hand into a hole. And many times they live very side by side with the moray and the lobster live side by side. And the best way to find out if there's a moray in that hole is stick your hand in there looking for the lobster, and it clamps down, right?
So you got a gloved hand, right? Or is this like, when people go noodling for catfish and you just...
I've done that too.
Oh.
Yeah.
You just stick your hand in there, go for it?
I almost never wear gloves.
Really?
Yeah. I just don't, my hands don't, I don't know. But when you stick your hand, when the moray bites down on it, and they can bite hard.
Yeah.
You instinctively pull, right? That's what you're going to do. Like touching a hot fire. You just pull, right?
Right.
And then it just shreds, right?
Do we have some pictures of these animals, Andy? Let's get some of these pictures while he's talking about this stuff here.
Well, that's a challenge for Andy, but
yeah, you gotta scroll through those. But I know there's a picture of a moray in there. I know there's a picture of a lobster.
There's a moray right there.
I just want people. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Look at
moray,
that.
right.
I just wanted you guys to visualize what Stu was sticking his hand into there, right? So I think that's a urchin above it, right? So you're probably sticking your hand underneath that spiky urchin, which that'll hurt you too, right?
Not fatally.
Yeah, it'll hurt though. Like you can get stuck by one of those spikes. It's like the cactus of the sea, right?
It is very much so, and it's not unusual to have those spines go into like my kneecaps and break off and make a little purple tattoo that goes away in a few weeks. That happens a lot. But if you see that moray on the top of their mouth, it's not just one row of teeth. It's like their whole top of their mouth is lined with teeth. So and their teeth are very sharp. So when you pull out, it really shreds it.
Jeez. So, I mean, if you get bit by a moray, does that mean you're going to eat a lobster? You have a picture of one of these lobsters?
There's a picture. Oh, that's an abalone. Okay, what we're looking at now, is that on the...
No, it's not up there right now.
Oh, okay.
He's scrolling around. Abalone, that's interesting. Are you... I hear abalone are kind of not endangered, but they're coming back, right? What do you know about that?
They used to be very, very plentiful, and
Here.
they feed on kelp. Okay,
we're talking about lobster now. Look at this lobster.
Lobster. And,
so now what's the deal? Where are the lobster claws?
California lobster, Pacific spiny lobster has no claws. Those are the eastern lobster.
Now, are there eels on the East Coast?
I suppose so, but...
so you're telling me you reach your hand in this hole, you risk getting bit by an eel,
Small
and
price.
you're only going to get half a lobster. Because the tail meat's good, but the claw meat's good too.
But the spiny lobsters, my understanding and my experience is they're far superior to the eastern lobsters, because if you go into a restaurant, you're not going to get the California spiny lobster because they all go to Japan.
Interesting.
Because the Japanese are willing to pay for them because they have a much stronger taste. They're very sweeter and it's not a mild taste, it's a strong taste.
So you pull these out of the ocean how regularly?
Well, this year we went after lobster, and probably this year, mostly we work out of the back of my truck just on Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu. I probably did maybe 25 night dives this year, because that's when they are coming out, usually the lobster or nocturnal. They're out walking around. You have a better chance. You can get them in the day, but you have a better chance at night. And I would say almost every time we went, we got several lobster.
Several. How many is several?
Within the legal limit.
Absolutely. What is the legal limit?
The legal limit is 7 each.
7 per person.
7 per person, right.
So you went out 25 times this year, and you got 7 lobster per person.
No, not every time.
Not every time.
No.
But you got enough to eat. You got enough to eat like a king.
Yeah, they're gone, sadly. We ate them all. Yes.
You ate them all. You don't really freeze them. Are you allowed to keep them? You allowed to put them in?
We do freeze them, sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with no ill effects, as long as you don't keep it there too long. But
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
But where there's really a lot of lobster, I mean really a lot, is on the breakwaters. Just
Oh, okay. All those rocks that are piled up.
the breakwater at San Pedro and Long Beach is miles long of habitat.
So you can just, like, there's no navigation. You just swim along that breakwater. You got your favorite spots.
and they're not necessarily deep.
Huh.
I'm catching them at like 5 feet, 10 feet.
Wow.
Yeah, they're right there. They'll just
So
be
you
there on
are
the
doing that on air. You're doing that on scuba, right? Like you're not
both.
both. Tell me about the other.
The free diving?
Yeah.
Well, I'm slightly out of practice of my free diving because I just haven't been doing it that much this year. But we did some free diving this year, and we did get lobster. And you got to be very quick.
Yeah.
The
Or be able to, did you go to NOAA this year?
No, I did not.
Oh, you didn't? I was going to ask you who can hold your breath longer, you or Megan Haney-Greer.
Well, I'm very conscious of shallow water blackout, which is the danger for free divers. So, and I'm getting on. I'll be 69 in May. So I don't push it. I'm 69 years old. I'll do what I want to do. I don't have to prove anything. I just want to have a good time.
So speaking of safety, you have a buddy? You got a dive buddy that you go with?
I have a bunch of buddies. But
you got a bunch of buddies?
I have a group of about, I go with Aloha. Oh, this is Ricky right here.
Oh, look at that.
With his
Pop
lobster.
that picture up there. Wow. So I will say that is a big lobster tail. Quite a bit of meat in that. And those were the 4 he pulled that night?
That's my truck.
Back of your truck?
Those are some of the lobster he got that night. And he's a great friend. He is also just now graduating from the Homeland Security Academy. And he's going to be stationed down at Imperial Beach.
Oh,
He wants to get on the border with ICE. He says he's looking for some action. He's like really a gung-ho Marine.
Is there good diving down there near the border? Are you allowed to dive the border? I imagine there's a breakwater or something.
The Coronados Islands are there. The 3 little islands, Coronados Islands, which are just over
You gotta watch
the
out for
border
seals, though.
into Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the last time I was in Mexico, you were not allowed to take shellfish. You could shoot all the fin fish you want, but you were not allowed to take that may have changed. I don't know. But
I thought Rosarito was like known for lobster.
well, I don't know. Yeah, for
Commercial,
for
maybe.
lobsters, yes, but for Americans taking them, it may be a different story. Yeah, I can be liable to correction, but I'm not sure about that. But
Interesting.
I always obey all of the laws, Rich, as long as it's
No. I don't know if you noticed, but there's cameras here.
as long as
And you're being broadcast on YouTube. So
as long as it's convenient, I obey all the laws.
as long as it's convenient. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Of course. Oh man. So okay. So it sounds like a lot of what you do is doing night diving, going for lobsters. Let's throw some of these other lobster pictures up here. These look really good. That looks delicious. More spiny lobsters.
Those were caught actually just a few weeks ago over at Angel's Gate, which is the gate you come out of San Pedro Harbor. That's the one with the round lighthouse with the light on it on both sides of that little breakwater, and anywhere from 5 feet of water to 20 or 25 feet of water.
So how long are you guys staying out there?
That night?
I think we got a video of them coming out of the water.
No,
But
because we went off a boat that night. We went. Those are target shrimp. Are we showing those?
yeah, sure. Yeah, we're showing those.
These are target shrimp, and you can see the why they call them that. But these are taken over at. This is also some night diving. This is at Redondo, Veterans Park at Redondo.
So how are you picking these up? You just pick them up like they're little bugs on the ground, and you
if
just
you're
pick
quick,
them up.
you can grab them.
You got like a net, like butterflies.
I have a little catch net, like
Okay.
you might use it in an aquarium.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's real easy with that because
wow.
Yeah, and you can get like 1, 2, 3, and then put them in the bag and
Yeah, it's like you're catching butterflies
and
underwater.
You can get about 20 each. I think the limit is like 20 each of those. Yeah, but they're a devil to clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you buy I bought like a deveiner, it's a little plastic device or a hard plastic device, and it helps you take that mud vein right out.
Wow. Andy, go up to the top there. We got some. We got a video of these guys coming out of the water.
Oh,
I want
okay,
everybody to
that's,
see. Yeah, it's gonna be at the very top. Yeah, that's a good one. So this is them coming out of the water.
This is at this is at Malibu. This is my buddy Bill, and I think Ricky's right behind him.
Hello, fancy
And
meeting you
beach
here.
diving
Hey,
is
buddy.
not for everyone. It's a skill set.
Yeah.
It's physical, and you can get
I
hurt.
saw Ricky get a big one.
Yeah.
We try to avoid getting
Man,
hurt.
I
But
could
if
not
there's a
orient
rock on that
myself
beach,
out there
I'll find
tonight.
it probably with
Hey,
my
you're-
Low visibility?
I'll probably with
It's like
my
swimming
head.
in
Yeah, he did
chicken
pretty
noodle
well.
soup.
You know, that wave
Oh,
didn't even
well, I
phase
went
him.
out
I
a
was kind of
little
waiting for him
further
to
and it was pretty clear.
wiped out by the wave or something, but I
What?
guess you wouldn't have
Well,
published that
I
video.
try to,
Well,
I try to
not clear,
time
no, I
it
wouldn't
for
say
good conditions. We live in California. Why not go when there's good conditions?
So what are good conditions?
Good conditions are high tide, when it's flat or maybe 1 foot surf or 2 foot surf. 2 foot surf doesn't sound like very much, but if you're up to your chest, 2 feet surf can put you someplace where you don't want to be. And as you know our friend Kevin Lee, also an avid diver, but mostly photography, a very high class photography guy. He injured his knee right in the surf, and it took him almost a year to get back 100% to get that knee well. So I try to avoid it.
Okay, so we talked about you learning how to dive as a young kid. When did you really start going after food underwater? Because it sounds like you do a lot of that. There's some photography stuff. While we're talking about this, Andy, I want you to pull up that picture of I think it's a nudibranch, which is going to make Kevin Lee jealous. But when did you kind of start spearing stuff and pulling stuff out of the water?
For my second honeymoon,
All right.
Diane and I went down the cold side of Baja on the old bottom scratcher. So we left out of, I think, San Diego, and we went down to Isla San Martin, and the reefs down there, and Ben's Rock and the Johnson Seamount down there. And I found on the bottom, and mind you, we're diving out of sight of land. You can't see land. We just find a high spot, and we're diving there with lots of big fish. And I found a pole spear laying on the bottom.
So this is just an area out in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
and the sea comes up a little bit, and it's just enough to attract fish, and you were out there diving it.
It's maybe 40, 50 feet deep, and I found a pole spear on the bottom, and I picked it up and started using it. I'm a thrifty lad.
So just that you're diving, you're out there taking pictures or taking in the scenery, and there's a spear. Let me see what I can do. You catch anything that day?
I caught a lot of fish on that trip.
First thing, you picked up a spear with no experience,
That's true. Yes.
and you started shooting shit,
Yes.
and you pulled stuff up.
Oh yeah. A lot of those 3 foot long jobs down there. Big fish.
So you might have a knack for it. You might be naturally talented at spearing stuff.
I wouldn't say that. I'm no better than anybody else, I don't think. But and the boat had a freezer and plastic bags, so why not?
Yeah.
So that's when I got interested in that. But gaming really is not my main thing. My main thing that I enjoy the most is just going for the beauty and the photography, and the camaraderie.
Yeah, you said you have a lot of dive buddies. Is there one dive buddy that's like especially?
Well, Rich,
You've been with him forever?
You have a child now, right?
I do. He's not old enough to go scuba
But
diving.
he's a little boy, right?
Yes.
Can you think of anything better than father-son bonding time than diving with your
Yeah,
son?
that's gonna be fun in like 10 years.
Well,
How young can I teach my boy how to scuba dive?
I think they're getting certified like 11 or 12 now.
Nice.
Yeah, and Deb, she's the lady, my sometimes instructor. I've taken a few classes lately. She loves the kids, and they love her. But, okay, so I got to say number one with my son. Right?
Okay, number one's your son.
Since my wife bailed on me.
Okay. So when they were both diving with you, who was number one, who was number two? Is your son still number one? Okay, we'll move on
How
from that
about
one.
those Lakers?
So the other thing you said you enjoyed doing a lot was just the beauty of it and photography and everything. We got a video of here. Why don't you tell us what this is?
Oh, this is, okay, go ahead. This is free diving. Now, free diving with a camera is not the easiest way to do photography, right? 'Cause
What
I'm just
is
holding
that
my
thing?
breath.
Stu,
Huh?
what is that?
That's a nudibranch. That's what Kevin Lee specializes in his study is opiscopods and nudibranchs, and that is called a Spanish shawl. Very, very common here in Southern California. Not unusual to see a dozen of them or more on a single dive here.
So for scale, how big is that? Is that like
is
how long is that? Is that like a dollar bill or
maybe 2 inches long?
2 inches?
Yeah.
And do you have a light on that camera right now, or is this just in shallow
This
water,
looks
or
like
what?
It's available light.
Wow. And what are these things? Just is this like what does it eat?
Pardon?
What does it eat? What eats it? Seems like
you would have to ask
Kevin Lee.
He's the expert on that, right? But clearly eating something pretty small.
You know, Kevin, if you're watching this, you probably are going to guess that you're going to get a phone call to come on this this program, because I think we need to get more into these nudibranchs. Wow, that's cool. Do you have any other photography on there that you want to show us that's just amazing?
There's something I cannot show, but I would like you to find the picture of that boat, Andy, the inflatable boat, because I want to describe my experience on that.
We can't show. You gave us something that we're not allowed to show?
No, you can show. No, what I'm going to describe you can't show. It's that
Gotcha.
inflatable boat.
Andy, what kind of scotch is this?
Jungle torpedo juice scotch. So Andy will find the
unlabeled
photograph. Go.
Yeah, Stu took some pictures of some girls here. Let's pop those up there.
How do I know when they're on the screen? When it says
they're
loaded?
on now.
Okay, this is off of the Spectre boat out of, I think that goes out of Oxnard. And these two girls were from Colorado, and they were very eager. That's the word, eager to pose for photography. They asked me, would you?
Thirsty. We call them thirsty now.
That's what
They're
you call them?
thirsty.
So, okay, they were
Let's see that other picture, Andy.
very willing to pose for photography. And it was a wonderful dive that time.
When was this? Do you remember what year? This
This year.
Oh, this is
2019.
This probably went on their Instagram, huh?
Pardon?
It's probably went on their Instagram.
Oh, that I don't know. I sent it to them.
Yeah.
But if you can go back and find that inflatable.
It was that boat with three guys on the back. It kind of had like a wet deck or something like that. It opened up in the back.
Yeah. Actually, that's the front. But on opening day of that's the,
let's take a look at this. This is cool.
This is the oil rigs. I can talk about.
So you're not a commercial diver, correct? But this is this kind of looks commercial. What were you doing out there?
This is the oil rigs. Again,
This doesn't seem like it's beautiful.
Oh, it is very beautiful.
Why?
I'm going to explain to you. Okay, in the middle is my son Jack, and on the left is my my other friend Rampton, who is also an amateur boxer, by the way. I would love to get him in the club. But this is one of the oil rigs out in the channel, and these oil rigs are a actual boon for sea life. Underneath, it is completely covered with scallops. Every inch of the structure is covered with scallops, and there are so many scallops, Rich, that the oil company has to pay for a service to come out and scrape them off because of all the extra weight. So
the weight is the
weight,
problem. The weight.
On the structure, yes, there's that many scallops and sea life and et cetera. But so every time we go to the oil rigs, every diver gets his limit of scallops on their first dive, which is 10 scallops per person.
10. You get 10.
10 per
They've got to
person.
scrape these things off. There's so many on there, and the limit still applies.
That's correct. But
Seems like a little government
the
bureaucratic overreach.
The scraping company only I know, what a shame, but the scraping company scrapes down to 60 feet. So if you want the bigger ones, you just go past 60 feet, and there's the place where they don't scrape, you have to get the really big ones.
How long can those live? How long does it take them to get that big?
I do not have the answer to that. But I will say that there's two schools of thought. One is you leave the empty shell. You just take the button, carve the button out. Usually you use like a little sharp cake knife or something very slender to get in there and carve out the button and leave the empty shell. But my mentor, Chris Russello from Aloha Dive, thank you, he teaches me a lot. Okay, so that gives you a sense of the scale. These
let's pop
these
that
things
up there.
are just gigantic, right?
Oh yeah, and I can see. Is that in the back, on the right side of the frame? Are those scallops, or are those like tires or something around there? I can't tell.
Those are just tires.
Okay.
But you see the size of the diver, and you see the kelp bed.
Yeah.
The other school of thought is that you take that shell off so a new one can grow.
Well, why would
If
you leave
the
the?
dead shell, a new one cannot grow. But if you knock it off, then a new scallop can take its place.
So by cutting it out, you're just saving yourself space in your bag, or what?
Well, the dive boats, they don't like you to do the cleaning or shucking and jiving on board because it makes a mess.
So be a responsible citizen.
And it makes a mess, and also because you might have like 50 pounds of, if you take all the shells in your bag, you might have like 50 pounds, and now you become, you have a buoyancy problem. You get too heavy, right? So it's better just to take the buttons and knock the shells off and leave them.
Sounds like you eat really well through this hobby.
But again, I'm really, okay, there, you found the boat. Okay, this is the boat.
Yeah, there it is.
And this is the day that we went to, this was opening day of lobster season. And we went in the water just before sunrise, right? So it was dark when we went into the water. I think this is on the Olympic. There's a wreck out in the channel. And we went on the Olympic, and on the way back up, Rich, one of the most beautiful moments of my entire life.
Tell me about it.
Coming back up to the surface, and you can't see it here. That's what I'm saying. You can't see it, but there was such a gorgeous sunrise, a godlike sunrise, and looking at that sunrise through the interface of the water. It was just one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my whole life. And no way could you capture it with a little camera, right?
Wow.
Because it's like this, right? It's like just
It was just that perfect time.
Pardon?
Surfacing at the perfect time, the perfect conditions.
Yeah, and I'm one of the most striking moments I've ever experienced. And for me, and it's just pure poetry. And for me, that's what it's about. I don't really care about the game, but the guys like to do that. The young people like to do that, so I'm in. Whatever they want to do. If they want to go for lobster fight, if they want to go for scallops, shrimp, whatever you want to do, I'm fine. But mostly,
You just want to get in the water.
I just want to be in the water and have the whole experience, and it gives me a reason to stay in shape.
Yeah.
Right.
So how has this whole pandemic thing affected your diving? They got the beaches closed?
I want to start with the tragedy of the conception. The conception, as you probably know, is the dive boat that had the tragic fire, where I think it was 34 divers. I forget the exact number, but a number of divers.
And this happened
perished
just north of LA. Where was it?
They were not. Truth Aquatics is located in Santa Barbara Harbor.
Okay, Santa Barbara.
The Conception was our go-to boat. That was the boat that we went on every month. That was, I mean, it's just a fluke that I was not on that boat.
So how often does it go out? Every week?
Well, when that fire occurred, Truth Aquatics shut down all 3 of their boats, right? Because there's an investigation. The governmental agencies came in and the Coast Guard issued new guidelines, and a lot of the dive boats, they took some time to make some changes to conform to those guidelines. And so not a lot of boat diving was going on at that time. So I really loved the shore diving because for one thing, so because of that, and now the pandemic, because people are not going to want to go on a crowded boat, so a lot of the boat diving has been kind of, for those reasons, have been kind of shut down or are just not happening. But I love the shore diving because it's very, very inexpensive. I mean, I park on the side of Pacific Coast Highway, work out of the back of the truck, and it costs really next to nothing, really, and very low impact, and I get to sleep in my own bed.
So before that tragic accident, you were on dive boats most of the time.
Most of the time, yes.
That was your primary MO, and they would take you to sites. But
Yes.
then after that, through them doing their root cause analysis and all that stuff, that got shut down, and then you moved to shore diving. So have you continued to shore dive through this? Are any of the beaches closed? We've heard that some beaches are closed, but
Well, because of the last couple of weeks, I haven't gone because of high surf, rain, storm.
what does the rain do?
Well, it comes down. It brings down a lot of. Let's say it clouds the water, right?
Yeah.
It makes the conditions not ideal. You usually want to wait for maybe 48 hours, or maybe even.
So just the pollution coming out of the storm
Yeah,
drains in the city of LA and all that kind of stuff gets washed out.
Yes, let's say that. Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if the creeks and the watersheds are going to, everything's going to come down, including wild animal feces, right? Every sort of waste is going to come down. But if you can find Andy, there's one video, I think, of the painted cave.
All the videos are going to be up at the top there.
Yeah, the painted cave, I think that would be of interest to people. It's a pretty cool video, and I think it's aboard the.
So your diving's kind of
That's
tapered
not a
off, but not necessarily because of the virus, but because just bad conditions, which I guess happens.
That's it. I think that's it. This is the painted
This is
cave.
California.
This is here, Santa Cruz Island. Now, mind you, the captain drove that boat right into there. That's amazing, right? And he has to back straight out. Very, very skillful. I'm not sure that's Conception, but it may be one of the sister ships. Truth Aquatics had the 3 boats. But he pulls pretty far back up into that cave.
Now, do you dive in there, or are they just popping in there so you can see it, and so he can practice his maneuvering? Is that a twin screw boat?
It's a very cool experience. You see how everybody's. That's my buddy. That's one of my dive buddies. BAMs. We're only talking about local diving now, but you see that back there, it goes back for maybe 50, 75 yards, and the sea lions back there.
So you dive amongst sea lions? Are they cool?
Oh, definitely. I got a sea lion video with my son Jack and I with about 50 sea lions in the water, which is like kind of all around us.
Yeah, because I know down in Newport, sea lions are kind of a pain in the butt, and they're ornery. But not to divers?
They can be greedy, yes.
So don't try to steal your food, or
they try to take my fish before.
Oh wow. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah,
this
that's
is Santa
amazing.
Cruz Island.
Jeez.
This is all right here in our backyard. Why would you not want to experience that?
So did you dive that?
Inside the cave? No.
No? Because it's like an open water cave, right? That's not like, it's still open water.
Yeah, it's open water. Yeah.
And that water is just so blue. You know, you're used to seeing this stuff in the tropics, but how does diving in California compare to the tropics?
If I had to choose one or the other, I would choose California.
Why is that? Isn't it cold?
You get okay. Here's the sea lions. You get used to the cold water, sort of,
Sort of.
sort of, but it's so much more interesting.
It's more interesting?
Far more, to me personally, far more interesting, because you have the kelp forest, you have an abundance of sea life, a variety of sea life, more big animals. After a while, I mean, I love the tropics, don't get me wrong, but after a while, one coral head starts to look like another coral head.
It's all just a fish tank, huh?
But very, very few things compare to just gliding silently or almost silently through a kelp forest. It's like flying, It would be almost like flying through the redwoods and just gliding through there, just that whole experience. It's just beautiful.
Let's roll that sea lion clip.
Now, this was so stormy. The time we went here was so stormy, I couldn't believe it, because the night before we left, it was raining, it was lightning, it was blowing, and I'm on board the boat, and I said, "Are we still going?" The next thing I know, they're having water spouts. You know what a water spout is? It's like a tornado of water. They're having water spouts out in the channel. I said, "We're still going?" And we went. And there was only one place that we could dive on Santa Cruz Island. The skipper found a little shelter in this place called Forney's Cove, which was just loaded with sea lions. And that's my son Jack there.
Your son's named Jack too?
My son's name is Jack.
Great name.
Yeah.
Fantastic name.
Yeah, I got my finger on the lens. I use a very small, inexpensive camera. For me, the photography is, I could have cropped it out. For me, the photography is mostly about being in the right place at the right time. You know, there's so many good cameras now. You don't have to, I know Kevin spends a lot of money on his camera, but getting in the right place at the right time, I think, is a huge part.
Kevin, you're definitely getting a phone call after this. You're gonna have to come. He's gonna have to come on board and show some of his photography.
Oh well,
He's pretty good.
Kevin is world class, no doubt about that. And
all right.
I'm very proud. When I have a question, I go to Kevin. And he answers it. Like when you say, "What do they eat? What do they do?" and all of those things, he's got all of that. He's got all of that.
He's the scientist and you're the monk.
I'm the what?
You're the monk.
A monkey.
The monk. You know, you just like the zen of it all, right?
Maybe so, yeah.
Yeah. We both have the haircut for it.
It's a feel. Well, it's a secret club.
Yeah? What secret is that?
Bald white guy.
Where our hair went? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
So are there any other amazing stories that you want to tell before we cut the broadcast here?
Before we cut the broadcast?
Yeah, you know. I mean, people might want to keep hearing us talk. I'm not sure.
I would say that, there's probably a lot of lapsed divers out there.
Lapsed. Like they used to dive.
Like they used to dive.
And they don't do it anymore.
And they don't do it anymore.
Like this guy.
Usually because they don't have someone to go with.
That's me.
Right.
Are you inviting me to go diving with you?
Absolutely.
That's great. I do have all my stuff. It's a little dusty. The tank's probably full still.
Well, we'll dust
it hasn't
it
been hydrostatically tested in a long time.
Well,
I've got my stuff.
It doesn't matter. I got extra everything.
Extra everything. That's good.
Yeah, I find gear.
I bet you do.
Did you lose any? I probably found it.
No. I think I got it all. And the most important thing is I got a really good mask. I think that's always important for me, at least, because messing around with your mask underneath. Because I mean, you're down there to look at stuff, right? So if you can't look at stuff, you got fogged up mask or there's water in it. So I made sure to get a really nice mask, and I take good care of it. I haven't lost it.
I used to dive Point Doom. Oh, there's a turtle. This turtle.
Is this a video, or is this just a picture?
I think it's just
Throw it up.
It's just a photograph, but this is a turtle. This is at Catalina.
Wow.
I saw this turtle at Catalina Isthmus. And come to find out, there were some other turtle sightings out there, and apparently this one was living there for quite a while. And like I say, the sea life is so varied here. It's just amazing. Like you saw those target shrimps.
Right.
I understand. I understand. There's also seahorses living in that vicinity.
Really?
And a permanent colony of seahorses. I understand in that area. Yeah.
This is the Isthmus of Catalina.
No. Where I got the target shrimp was Redondo Veterans Park.
Wow.
Which is very easy.
Just off of LA.
Which is very LA rocks. Southern California rocks. There's so much to do.
Yeah, I'm getting that impression.
But
so how does someone get into diving here in Los Angeles? Like, I'm what would you call me, the lapsed diver? I'm a lapsed diver.
Yes.
I got certified in Catalina, but and I've gone on and off throughout my life, but I haven't been diving in a year and a half. I went diving in St. Bart's. It was a fish tank. It was fun.
I know,
but not a regular diver. But if you weren't, I can strap it all back on and jump back in and be fine. But if you haven't been diving before,
I'll give you a safety spin.
Well, I'm good. I know my five.
I don't know
what the five.
I don't know my fives, but people come from all over the world to dive California kelp forests.
Yeah,
they're true. They come from Australia. They come from Scotland.
Are there kelp forests? I know. It's coming back, but
it is back.
Totally back.
And
Catalina's the best, right? Laguna Beach is pretty good. I've been diving Laguna Beach.
Actually, a couple of weeks ago at the LA Harbor, with tons of kelp.
Wow.
Tons of it. Very, very healthy. It comes and it goes. It doesn't like the warm water. It doesn't like the water too warm. It likes it cold. And it doesn't like too many urchins. It's okay to kill as many urchins as you want because they eat kelp, and we have too many urchins.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the best dive I've been on is in a kelp forest. Yep. When you said that it was like a redwood forest gliding through it, yeah, that resonates. I know some people are kind of freaked out of the kelp underwater, because it's that stuff that comes up and wraps around your leg. But underwater, it's amazing. That was the best dive I've ever been on.
It's very thick on top.
But then when you're down there, it's
like going between trees. It's
yeah,
like very simple.
Yeah. So again, how would someone get involved in diving California if they've never been diving before? Because we got adventurers out there.
I would say go to your local dive shop.
Yeah.
Whatever area you live in, and just start talking to them, and maybe just go there and say, "I just came by to visit." They'll be happy to see you, and start asking a few questions.
Would you recommend people do? I guess go to the tropics and do a resort course, or would you recommend that they just jump into the certification process? Or somewhere in between, going out there and skin diving with a snorkel.
It's here. Why not do it here? Because I think once you learn to do the California cold water diving, and in the summer it's pretty warm. All you need is really a short suit. But if you learn to do it here, then you can do it anywhere. Not anywhere, but most anywhere. Because when you go to the tropics, then it's like you said, like a bathtub.
Yeah, it's it is cool, but I hear what you're saying. I've been bored in the tropics.
But when we go to the tropics, and the first thing they want to know, the guide, they usually hook you up with a guide, and they want to know your level of experience. And when we say we're from California, they say, "Oh, you could probably dive pretty well."
If you're willing to put up with the cold and the thick wetsuit and all the weight
and currents and all sorts of conditions, but it's all part of it. But
so, is this enough weight for you? How much weight is this?
That would not be enough for me.
What about in the tropics?
In the tropics, almost none. Yes.
Yeah. So, what about these things? What are these? This stuff's been sitting around the club.
Those are floats. Those are old-fashioned floats that would be used to float a large fishing net. It was a long, really net. It's got a bunch of those along the top, or this for an even bigger net, or maybe a lobster trap. So anything that you want to mark with a float, that's what those are. They're floats. But
so they're glass. They
are
used to make them out of
glass.
glass. Now we would make them out of rubber, plastic, or something, right?
Well, but they'll last forever.
Yeah.
because the chance of them getting broken out in the water is probably pretty slim,
Right.
right? Because and this shields it from somewhat.
Huh. It's
And I
fascinating.
think authentic ones are collector's items. These are probably authentic collector's items. Yeah.
We got a lot of dive stuff around the club. I think diving's one of those adventures that
We do, and I'm going to point to the thing behind me, mounted on the wall. There's a cleat from the submarine there that was donated by my friend Alex Bosell.
a cleat from a submarine. Which I don't think we're going to be able to get a shot of it.
It's next to the orange
So-
suit. Okay, but it's nevertheless, it's on the wall. It's just the rest.
But if you're listening, you got to come see it, right? When the club opens,
to come see the
you got to
club.
come see the club, and you'll be able to see some of the
This
stuff.
is an awesome place with awesome people, and this is one of the things about Southern California that I love, truly. The Adventurers Club, it's one of the hidden secrets. There's so much going on in Southern California, but you're not going to find it unless you look. And this club has opened so many horizons for me and opened so many doors of opportunity for me. I'm very grateful to the club. I'm very grateful to you, Rich, for your service to the club and all that you're doing for the club, and for you putting up with a senior citizen such as...
I feel like this is a good note to end on. Thank you, Stu. Stu Deats, member
I drove
1168.
I drove all the way here with my blinker on so people would know. No, there was a senior citizen on the road.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, right? You don't put the hazard lights on. You just put one blinker, but you leave it on so people know. Well, thank you for coming on the program, Stu. Thank you for sharing all your